Yeah, there's not a better time of the year than opening day. I mean, we all get excited. You know, spring's eternal, and man, it's going to be fun at Busch Stadium. I was talking to Jordan Walker's parents the other night, and I don't think they realize what they're about to get into. They said, you know, hopefully it's a full house and we get good crowd support. And I told Jordan's dad, I was like, Derek, I said, they're going to be hanging from the rafters. There'll be 45,000 people, not a seat in sight, empty. So, yeah, but, you know, we're all looking forward to opening day, definitely.
I'm thinking, first of all, there's several candidates for this because in the introduction they're riding in on the cars and all that stuff, which is a St. Louis classic that never gets old. It's always wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And so there's no right or wrong answer here, but I'm just thinking to myself, like, well, who's going to get the loudest ovation, the loudest cheers? And first of all, you got the reigning NL MVP and Paul Goldschmidt. Then you've got a guy that if his career, for some unknown horrible reason, would end today, I think he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm talking about Nolan Arenado. But then you've got Jordan Walker, who everyone's crazy about, and they can't wait to see him. And then you got the former Cub, a guy that everybody hated because he played for the Cubs, but now they love him because he's one of ours, and they know he wants to do everything he can to be an honorable successor to Yadier Molina. I think he'll get a real loud ovation. So, but who, if you had to put down $2 at the window, who do you think's going to get the loudest one?
Well, you know, he's not going to pitch. He's not going to be able to play, but I think it's got to be Adam Wainwright. You know, final opening day, and Waino's really bummed that he can't pitch. He really wanted this assignment one more time, and you know, like you said, Arenado and Goldschmidt are Hall of Famers if they never played again. They're both great. They're both great Cardinals. They're about all the right things. You know, like you said, Wilson Contreras is planning to do. He wouldn't tell us exactly what, but he's going to do something to honor Yadi, a guy that he idolized as a kid growing up in Venezuela. So you know, like you said, he's going to get a loud roar. Jordan Walker is a sensation that Cardinal fans can't wait to watch. But I hope Waino gets the loudest ovation of them all. You know, he's really kind of down in the mouth right now because he's not pitching, but he's going to be kind of a quasi-pitching coach over the next couple of weeks until he gets back. But, you know, he deserves it, everything he's done for this organization.
You know, I feel really stupid because when I'm reeling off those names, of course Wainwright will be, well, to your point, I mean, it's his last opening day, even if he's not pitching, but a chance for the fans to embrace him first time this year, and they're going to go nuts. So yeah, absolutely. Oh. Thanks for having my back on that one because I screwed that one up. By the way, that piece that you did on Walker, I told you this in a text message the other day. That piece you did, not so much like, okay, Walker makes the team. That's part one. That's a big deal. But part two is him telling his parents and you talking to Mr. Walker. That was some of the great – that stuff was great. It just gave you a lot of insight into that family, and what an impressive family that is. And until I read your story, I had no idea that Jordan Walker's mom did her graduate work at Washington University in St. Louis, which is
correct.
Couple blocks from my house. And I can't believe, you know, father's an MIT guy. She's a Harvard and Washington University product or whatever, alum, whatever you want to say. I mean, no wonder Jordan Walker has got such a great makeup, like the kind of person he is, and just smart and composed and intelligent. You did a great job with that story. I loved it.
Thank you, Bernie. I really appreciate it. You know, I tell people sometimes it's almost like this kid was created in a lab somewhere. You know, it's like a baseball factory or something. He's 6'5", 250, built like a tight end. He runs like a wide receiver. He had a 3.98 GPA in high school. He had a scholarship offer to Duke. His father went to MIT. His mother went to Harvard and Washington University. It's like it's a Hollywood script or something. It's too good to be true. And, you know, you see why the kid is so mature. You see why he's so intelligent. He has the family support. You know, his family's planning to move to St. Louis. They want to be here with him every step of the way. And he's going to have probably 15 to 18 people coaches along the way, and family members, and both grandmothers are going to be here, and both parents are going to be here. So, the kid is set up for success. I know he had a bad couple of weeks, but the last 2 weeks of spring training. But I really think he's just on that collision course. There's too much going right for him. The talent is too undeniable. All young players are going to have 2 great weeks and 2 bad weeks. That's just going to happen. But this kid has all the right support. He has the right mentality. I think he's on a collision course for greatness.
I do too. And to me, it doesn't matter how quick it happens. If he gets off to a little bit of a slow start, it's no reason to panic, no reason to get down on him. I was telling Jim Hewer earlier, with Jordan Walker, I'm more about the long view, the long term. In other words, hey, you never know how anyone's going to start out their career. It could get off to a rough start. It doesn't matter. You take the long view and say, you know what? It's important that once he gets started, he'll never look back. Once he gets on that positive track, he'll never look back. And that's how I look at it. Whenever he's ready to start being spectacular, I'm good with it. It doesn't have to happen like the first month or whatever. I hope it does, and it's possible that it will. But, yeah, he's such an exciting talent. There's no doubt about it. John, I want to ask you this. After all that information and observation you did so well for MLB.com at spring training, I want you to tell me first, is there an area of this team that you think might be better than we expect?
I think Nolan Gorman is better than people expect. Bernie, you were just talking about, if Jordan Walker doesn't get off to a great start, don't cast him aside. I think a lot of people in St. Louis said, well, now we know who Nolan Gorman is. I think a lot of people kind of forgot about him, and he came back to this camp. He's the most improved guy in the whole camp. Defensively, offensively, mindset, everything about him. His body's better. He's moving better. And I think we have to remind ourselves that, growth is not always linear with these young kids. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. There's going to be time when they take a step back, and then they're going to take 2 steps forward. And, as people are watching Jordan Walker, I hope they remember that, Nolan Gorman had a terrible spring last year. He goes to Memphis and he kills it. Then he comes to St. Louis and has a good start. And then he kind of fell off a cliff for those last 6 weeks. And, now look at him. He was the most improved player at that camp. If it wasn't for Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn, that would have been Nolan Gorman's camp. And, you asked a position, but Nolan Gorman's going to play third. He's going to play second. He's going to DH. They want his bat in the lineup because it is real. His power is really real, and they're going to try to get him in there as much as possible. They have a very right-handed dominant lineup, so every chance they can get him in there with his left-handed bat, he's going to be playing.
And my goodness, to your point, he that was his age 22 season last year, and he won't turn 23 until May the 10th. Heck, they can even have a birthday party because Walker turns 21 on May the 20th, I think, or May 22nd. Yeah. So they need to have a birthday party in the clubhouse for those guys. No, I'm way up on Gorman. I mean, the way I put it, John, is I've said this on the show and written it at scoopsdennymac.com. The first 80% of his season was really outstanding. And then, like you said, he went over the cliff the final 20%. I choose to look at the first 80% because, first of all, that's a much more serious body of work. And we all expected him, if we were sane, we should have expected that there was going to be some valleys with him because of, the strikeouts, and he's still in so many ways developing. And I thought, 80% of that rookie year was fantastic. And, you've written some great stuff about him this spring that convinces me that all the work he's put in and how seriously he takes this to get better at some things that gave him problems last year, it's going to pay off.
Yeah. So. I mean, Bernie, he told me, he said, look, there is no alternative plan. He's like, I'm going to be good at this. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to pour my life. I'm going to pour everything I've got into this because this is the only plan is to be great at baseball. And he's been great everywhere he's been. If you look, he started off single A. He struggled the first 3 or 4 weeks, and then he took off like a rocket. Every time he's been promoted, there's been a stretch of struggles, and then he takes off. The kid's talent is undeniable. I mean, he was one of the best high school players in the world when he's coming out of high school. And, we were in Wrigley last year, and I asked him, I said, have you ever played here? And he's like, oh, yeah, I was in home run. I won the home run derby here in high school. Like, he's done the biggest of things. He's very serious. Sometimes he's almost too serious. Sometimes he beats himself up. Brendan Donovan is one of his closest friends. Brendan Donovan kind of brings the levity that Nolan Gorman needs every now and then. So, but, he is a very focused guy. You can see the work that he's put in. And, I think he's got a big season ahead of him.
Hey, what do you tell us about Brendan Donovan? We all expect he'll have another high on base percentage season. And as you reported, you've written about him, he also is making an attempt to add more power to his game. And how do you think that's coming along? And what exactly did he do to increase his power capability?
Yeah, Bernie, he was scheduled to get married this offseason. So right away, as soon as 2 days after the Cardinals lost to the Phillies in Game 2, he was down in Baton Rouge at the Marucci training center down there. He got fitted for a new bat. He's learned how to increase his bat speed without swinging harder. He doesn't think he's going to have to sacrifice any of the bat control, any of the on-base percentage for a guy who swings harder. And, we saw it right away. I think Game 2, Game 3, he had 2 home runs. He had 4 home runs in the spring. He's so much bigger through the chest. He's put on – he says his weight is the same, but he's definitely moved it around. He's more muscular, and he's figured out a way to add, 7-8 miles an hour to his bat speed without swinging harder. So, he's one of those guys. He's not going to sit back and wait and let the league figure him out. He's trying to beat him to the punch and get better. And, he's a guy – I mean, he led all rookies in on-base percentage. He's the first rookie in Cardinal history to win a Gold Glove, and there he was. He's been in Jupiter since before Thanksgiving. So it's another kid who is very serious about his craft, and I think he has the right mindset. Oli Marmol absolutely loves the guy. As much as he loved him last season when he was playing 6 positions and won a Gold Glove, I think Oli even has more admiration for him now for the body of work that he put in over the offseason to make himself better.
John, I do a weekly podcast with Will Leach. It's Cardinals related, Seeing Red. We were talking today. We recorded a new one. And we've talked about this the last 2 times. When you look at this lineup, and then we talked about the opening day lineup, which is one that we'll see maybe some players moving around within the lineup. But this is when you look at that lineup, and I know, hey, you got to get it done. Potential doesn't mean it's going to happen, but still. You look at that lineup. You got Donovan. You got Nootbaar, who can. He'll be smart enough to take a walk if they want to do that, just to set up the 2 big guys or the 3 big guys behind him. With Goldie, Arenado, and Contreras. Tyler O'Neill 6th, Gorman 7th, Jordan Walker 8th, Edman 9th. Are you kidding me? If all those guys do reasonably well, just reasonably well, I mean. That is a killer lineup. I mean, it's it's amazing to actually see it listed the way you and, Derek and everyone else who covers the team, you put it in your reports. Well, this looks like the opening day lineup. He started this for the final game of the spring training, and you're like, wow. It doesn't mean they're all going to do what everybody hopes, but wow, the potential's amazing.
Yeah, they have a chance to have maybe the most depth they've had in this lineup since maybe, I don't know, 2004. They've got a lot of guys who could have big, big seasons. Ollie said the other day, he's like, I don't know where a pitcher is going to get a break in our lineup. And, personally, I would move Gorman to 6 and Tyler O'Neill to 7 just to break up that string of right-handers. Like I said, this is a right-handed dominant lineup, and you got to sprinkle those lefties in there somewhere. But like you said, like Donovan, led all rookies in on-base percentage. Nootbaar was one of the most patient hitters in all of baseball the second half of last season. And then you're coming with, that 3-4-5 is going to be pretty brutal. And, any team that had Tyler O'Neill and Nolan Gorman and, Jordan Walker batting 6, 7, 8, any team in the league would take that. So the potential is there, like we always know, especially with Tyler O'Neill. They got to stay healthy. But, if they get 6 of these guys to have a good season out of the 8, they're going to be a very dangerous lineup, no doubt.
Hey, John, in some of your reporting or conversations with Cardinals people, what do you think or what do you know about what Ali told Juan Yepes when, he made the decision to go with Burleson because he wanted that left-handed bat? And I'm sure Yepes, he's a delightful guy with a big heart. He's like a big puppy. I'm sure that was a very difficult day for him, but what do you think the message was to him, and how do you think he'll take it?
Yeah, that was a very tough conversation. I know Ollie really struggled with that one, and they value the versatility that Burleson gives them a little more than Yepes. They do think that Yepes can play in this league, and they knew all the way back to the middle of March we're going to be sending some guys down that belong here, that should be here. I mean, that's a guy who hit a 2-run home run in a 0-0 playoff game last year. Juan Yepes knows he can hit. He knows he can play at this level. Last year when they sent him down, he kind of went into a shell, and Ollie brought that up. He's like, there's an old saying, you can either be bitter or you can be better. And, they told him if you go down there and you sulk, you're not going to be back here. You go down there and kill it, you got a shot at being back here. So, no doubt about it, that was the hardest conversation they had to have. They know he's a major league player. They know he belongs, but he's got to get better defensively. Putting him in the outfield is an adventure. Yes, he can play some first base. Yes, he can DH, but, Burleson can do outfield, and he's a left-handed bat, so that kind of gave him 2 notches ahead of Yepes.
John, maybe one more for you, and thanks for your time today, because I know you're busy, even though no ball games just yet, but that you're setting things up in advance and doing your work, so I appreciate it. How do you? Because this is a question on everybody's mind, has been for weeks. Do you think, or I should say this, how possible or even probable is it that we'll see Mason win up here around the All-Star break or after the All-Star break? I know there's no set timetable, but what do you surmise?
First and foremost, everybody has to understand if Mason Wynn comes to the major leagues, he has to play every day. It's not that Paul DeJong is better than him or anything like that. If he comes, he has to play every day. You already have a really good shortstop here. If there's an injury, they know what they have now in him, and they were blown away. They knew he had a big-time arm. They knew he had a good glove. They had no clue he could hit like this. Bernie, that play he made the other night, diving behind second base, that was Ozzie Smith-like, dive in one direction, the ball takes a bad hop, he still gets it, gets up on his feet and throws out Francisco Lindor at first on a double play. That was like take your breath away. You're like, wow, did that really just happen? So they really, the Cardinals, say what you want about 17 players being gone, it really helped them find out what they had in this kid. And they know now they've got a star in the making. Like, he knows he belongs. This stage is not too big for him. It's not too big for him in the field or at the plate. The way he handles the bat was one of the biggest revelations of all spring. And, I think he could be here by June, but he's got to play. And if there's an injury, if Tommy Edman goes down, if Brendan Donovan goes down, Nolan Gorman goes down, then I think we could see him. But they're not going to bring him up to pinch hit. They're not going to bring him up to play 2 days a week. If he comes to St. Louis, he's got to play 5-6 days a week.
Yeah, and I look forward to 2024 because we were talking about this with Will Leach today. If you look at that situation where you've got Arenado at third, you've got Wynn at short, you got Edman, and he's a hell of a shortstop, but he's even a better second baseman. So you got him at second base. Gorman's going to be the primary DH because you face so much right-handed pitching. And Donovan can truly go back to that role where he can play any of 6 positions and do a good job. I mean, this team, you look ahead a little bit. I know we shouldn't, but this team, as exciting as this lineup is now, this team will be even more loaded in a way starting in 2024 when you add Wynn to the mix. I mean, it's a pretty good vision to think of if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yep. Bernie, Ollie Marmol said the other day, it's a good time to be a Cardinal fan because, you see what they have in place and then you see what's coming. I mean, Tink Hence is probably going to push for this rotation next year. He's coming. Mason Wynn's coming. Gorman, like you said, is just 22 years old, and Jordan Walker, there he is, 20 years old. He's going to be the youngest position player to start for the Cardinals on opening day since David Green in 1981. I think it was
Wow.
43 years, something like that. So it just, they're loaded with youth and they're loaded with veterans. It's a really good mix. Everybody always tells you don't want to be too young, you don't want to be too old. They've got a good mix of both sides of it. So, it's going to be really interesting to see how good this team can be.
Well, John, thanks for setting the table for us. You got me even more jacked up to watch opening day, so thank you for that. And I appreciate you very much, my friend, and it's so wonderful to have you come on once a week. I look forward to it every week. So we'll talk soon. Certainly be reading you at MLB.com, and certainly we'll be reading your newsletter, and certainly we'll continue to follow you on Twitter at John Denton 555. So thanks so much, John.
You're the best, Bernie. Thanks a lot. Take care.
See you, man. That's our friend John Denton. He's talking about how Jordan Walker runs like a tight end. Hey, back in the day, John Denton played some tight end.
That's right.
I wonder what his 40 speed was.
He's mowing them down, I'll bet.
I love John Denton. He's really good.